Hi there. My name is Chris Brablik, and I'm here with Tank Utility. We have our webinar kind of all queued up, but we're just going to wait 2 more minutes for any other registrants to kind of join the call. And then we're going to get started with our webinar on marketing and selling tank monitoring to your customers with Cory Atkinson and Evan Pittsley. So really excited about today's webinar, but just hold on for a little bit and we'll just wait for the last few people to join the webinar. Thank you. All right. So it looks like a lot of us have joined the webinar. So we're going to get started. Today we have a webinar on a topic that I know we get asked all the time here at Tank Utility, which is how do we market and sell tank monitoring as a service to our customers? And we're really excited today because we have two people who have been doing this for years and have been very successful in doing so, and Cory and Evan. And we're going to introduce them in just a second. One thing we want to note before we kind of get started in the webinar is that we also will be accepting questions throughout. So Evan and Cory have, will be answering your questions throughout. If you want to use the panel to the right, you'll see in the GoToWebinar, you'll see questions. If you submit those questions through that panel, we'll kind of screen them and make sure that we ask them of Cory and Evan throughout the presentation. So feel free to do that at any time you have questions. What is also interesting is that this is the end of our summer barbecue series of webinars on tank monitoring. So you may have joined some of our webinars in the past, but in June we did one on how to buy tank monitoring, the features, the functions that you should be looking for. In August, we did one on deploying, using, and maintaining tank monitoring. And today we're talking about selling and marketing to your customers. What I will do is we'll also make sure to send an email with the on-demand versions of every one of those webinars. So you can just click the link and watch them or share them with your team. So be on the lookout for that email. Hopefully later today, if not early tomorrow, for your team with each of the webinars that we did in the previous months. Great. And so we have today, we have two great speakers. We have Cory Atkinson from Spicer Advanced Gas, and we have Evan Pittsley from Jaysan Gas here in Massachusetts. But I could give them an introduction, but I think it makes most sense to allow them to introduce themselves. So Cory, can you kind of give an introduction on Spicer and maybe some of your experience with tank monitoring?
Yeah, sure. So we're a family-owned company in Connecticut. We've been around for about 100 years now. I've been with the company in my current role for probably about 12 years. We've been doing monitoring for, probably at least 3, 4, maybe 5 years now, and have really had great results with it, and it's helped us in a number of different ways with our existing customer base and getting new customers. So that's where we stand as far as the monitoring goes.
Fantastic. And Evan, can you tell us a little bit about you and your organization?
Yeah, so hey everybody, I'm Evan. I work for Jaysan Gas Service in southeastern Massachusetts. We are also a small family-owned propane company, been around since 1976. I have worked in the propane industry for the last about 4 years. My experiences prior to that go into retail, marketing, public relations, things like that. As a company, we were kicking around the idea of tank monitoring probably 3-4 years ago, 2015 or so. We tried out a whole bunch of different companies, kind of got our feet wet a little bit with the technology, and then jumped on board, I believe, in 2016 with Tank Utility. Using tank monitors is a great efficiency tool, but also a great way to grow our business and to really differentiate ourselves with our customers. So we had a great experience in it, and here we are.
Fantastic. And, I'm really excited because, I know in talking to both of you, you guys have, kind of gone through that whole tank monitoring journey of, really kind of buying them for efficiency first, and then kind of looking at how do we actually, potentially use this as a way to better market to our customers, win more deals, and ultimately, drive additional revenue. And so, when we think about this and just, want to make sure that we also understand kind of where the audience is, I did want to kind of launch a quick poll, which you'll see kind of on your screen here. And, just to kind of see, what are people doing with tank monitoring today, especially when it comes to a service to their customers. So we'll let the poll go here, but and I know in our conversation, especially late last week, and the things I know, there's some really interesting tactics that we'll get into that you both are using with your own customers.
Chris, Aaron here from Tank Utility as well. Don't need a formal introduction, but did want to say hello to the attendees and let them know that there is one other voice that might be piping in, trying to ask follow-up questions to our guests.
Fantastic. And, I didn't do my job properly, Aaron, to not introduce you. So we closed the poll there, and it looks like many of you are selling tank monitors to your existing customers. But I know from my conversations and kind of talking with a number of fuel suppliers, everybody's doing it a little bit differently. So hopefully you'll get some new ideas and tactics from today's webinar. Great. So as we kind of start to look at tank monitoring today and what you guys are doing, Cory and Evan, one of the things I always kind of like starting with is just kind of talking about that journey around tank monitoring, kind of what got you into it, and then at one point did you really start thinking about it as a potential way to differentiate your business and to kind of create additional revenue from customers? And so with that, maybe start with Cory, kind of talking about kind of Spicer's journey through that.
Yeah, sure. Where we are, we have a lot of summer communities, and we have and I guess a few years prior to us getting involved in tank monitoring, we purchased another company that was very big into hearth sales. So they had a tremendous customer base of fireplaces, log sets, things like that. And we quickly realized that it was very difficult to forecast these people's use. And with the previous company, they were all on automatic delivery. The deliveries tended to be very inefficient to these people. They just put them on a timed account, stop by once a month or whatever, regardless. And then so those customers were probably our driving force into looking at a better way of being able to accommodate them and improve efficiency for us. And then kind of the same thing with the summer homes. They go away for the winter, but they come back for a long weekend or a week over Christmas break. And we were getting a lot of runouts and just having a very difficult time catering to that customer base as well. So we were looking for some way to improve on that.
That's great. And Evan, when you guys were looking at it, what are the things that you were kind of going about, and were there any like inflection points when you thought about tank monitoring and kind of moved it to more of a service side?
Yeah, so I like how you describe it as a journey, because that's definitely what we did with tank monitoring. We first jumped into it because overall as a business, we were asking the question about how we can be more efficient, how we can do a better job delivering more gas in a longer period of time across the board. So we started to look at the technology, get used to it, kind of feel out, would it really work for us? This is an investment we have to make to put money into this thing. Is it really going to work? And for us at the beginning, it was kind of funny to look back at because, there were different parts of our team here that thought, this is a great tool. Let's use it for efficiency. We're never going to make money off of this. It's just another cost. But there was a small group of people that said, well, hey, if we're going to do this, we need to find a way to sell it and to use it. And I personally didn't think that would be possible, that we'd find great ways to sell this to our customers. But over time, we started deploying, we're a smaller company. We started deploying 25 at a time out to our customers, kind of getting familiar with it, just building the logistics of it. And after we started deploying them and showing people how they work, showing our customers, our team, people started to get excited about it. And with that excitement, we were saying, hey, maybe we can put a price tag to this, offer tank monitoring as a service to our customers. And since that decision that we made to really jump into that, we still use it. We still, as an efficiency tool on our own as a company resource, but now we're able to market that to our customers in a packaged way where they're excited to pay for the service. And that's where we are at this point.
No, that's fantastic. And that's what I would say for most fuel suppliers when we kind of discuss, how to market and sell to customers is usually, you probably have those tanks early on and those customer accounts early on where it just, it makes perfect financial sense just to buy it yourself and put it on their tanks. But as you start to kind of look at the business and look at other customers within your base, selling it and bringing that revenue in is definitely kind of that transformation, that evolution of using tank monitoring to get more of those efficiency gains across your customer base. So when we think about kind of what you're doing, and both of you have been doing this extremely well, what are the customers that you really start to target when you're thinking about selling that service around tank monitoring to your customers? And why don't we, Evan, why don't we start with you?
Okay, yeah. So we've really found most of our success selling tank monitoring service to generator accounts. So I don't know where everybody else is from, but this last March in particular, and even last October, we experienced a number of knockout storms here that just took away power. So there are generator companies installing generators, electricians that are 300 plus accounts away from installing systems for generators. So it's just absolutely inundated in this area. So we've found really good success. These people are excited about the technology, excited they don't have to go outside and check their tank, excited that we know where they stand during a storm. We've also found some success with pool heater accounts, a similar type thing. They plan parties. We have no idea when they are. So they're seeing that as a valuable thing where they don't have to worry about it. We're watching it and can respond to them as needed for deliveries. So those are our top two sale items for selling monitors. The other one that we don't have as many seasonal homes, but we have found quite a bit of success when there is a seasonal home. You make the pitch, you let them say yes or no, and oftentimes they are choosing the monitor once they find out about the technology. So that is our third thing. I know I defer to Cory on that one. He's had a lot more success in the seasonal account. So yeah.
Great. And
can I ask
Evan,
one? Sorry, can I ask one follow-up question there, Evan? Are you? You said making a pitch. Who are you? Is this mandatory or for generators and pool heaters, or is there a soft sell, hard sell, and what happens if they don't accept the pitch?
Yeah, so we've targeted a few different ways. The thing that we found the most successful is people don't want to be told what to do. So as well as we want to make it appear and come across and be as mandatory as possible, especially in these situations from a logistics and an efficiency standpoint, and even storm response, standpoint, we really make it seem like, hey, this is the norm, because it is for us. This is what our customers are doing. This is the best way for us to provide service to you. And, we see ourselves as thriving with these types of accounts. So, if they really want what's best for them, this is what we do. So we really pitch it that way. It is from like a tactic standpoint. It's really a personal sell. It starts when they first make the call to us or first referred to us. We're telling them about tank monitoring right at the beginning. This is something that we do. This is who we are, how we do business. And right at that point, we've enlisted them. And now as they're getting new to propane, new to this industry, they're seeing that as the picture.
Awesome. Couple questions coming in. Evan, so you're making some light bulbs go off over there. I guess one, just back up and give an overview of the company type question. Leanne is asking here, how many monitors do you all have field right now versus your customer base, like a percentage of your customer base, and how many monitors do you have in the field?
The best way to answer that, it's not a high percentage. I don't have the actual number. We have about 175 or so deployed monitors, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when we started, we really started with 25 at a time. And then we ran into some challenges where we really needed like the LTE 4G monitors for our location. So, we preferred to stay away from Wi-Fi. So we held out for that. So it's really been this last year that we've seen this selling perspective just absolutely take off. And as Tank Utility can verify, we're ordering new batches of monitors consistently and trying to keep that flow going because we're putting them out. So, so we have about 175 for purchased monitors. That I don't know today's number, but we've been trending. We started with a very small percentage that customers were paying for. A few weeks ago when I checked, we were up to 47% of our deployed monitors were paid for by customers, the service. And as we speak today, we should be somewhere over 50% of our deployed monitors are people that are actually enlisted in this service. Again, most of that's been done primarily this last year.
Awesome. Cory, you mind answering that same question?
Yeah, no problem. So the percentage of monitors we have in relation to our customers is very, very low. But we've always pitched it as an upgraded product or an add-on item to their existing service. And then just to go back to one of the previous questions, with the seasonal homes especially, it is not a required a mandatory add-on for any account. We'll keep anybody on will call, but we do make it a required upgrade if you want to be on automatic delivery, if you have certain products on your system, primarily generators, seasonal homes, pool heaters, hearth products. If you have traditional year-round heat, hot water, cooking, not a problem. We'll put you on automatic delivery and let our software calculate degree days and dispatch that way. One of the big benefits that we found as far as pitching it to customers and making them feel like it's a worthwhile add-on is, there's a lot of different customers that I think that find that benefit, but generators in particular, one of the things that we can pitch to them and tell them that we can offer is now we can reliably put you on automatic delivery. And if there's a storm coming up the coast, we can forecast that in 3-4 days out before it hits. We can run a report on all our generator accounts with monitors and dispatch to them regardless if they're at 50, 60, 30%, and just top those tanks off and get those customers ready for the storm. So it's almost like they become a priority customer in that situation. And we advertise that, we do that. So you're not calling in at the last minute. We can't get a truck out to you. We're gonna be there. We're gonna take care of you early. And depending on how long the power outage works, at least we get that first delivery taken care of off the bat. So that's a big way we do it. I think I got a little off track. What was the question again?
Did you get the number of monitors you guys have out there?
Oh, yeah. So So we probably have, I think we have about 200 or 300 monitors in the field right now,
Yeah.
and I would say probably 90+ % are leased um, and not provided by us.
Yeah. That's a decent segue too. There's two other questions that just came in. Without going into pricing, actual numbers or anything, how are you guys selling this? Is it somebody buys the monitor? Are you leasing it to them? Is it annual? Is it monthly? Again, don't need to discuss prices, but what's what are the details of kind of how it's executed?
Yeah. So our plan and our model is they are leased. We don't sell the monitors outright, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is it gives you a little better customer retention. So even if the customer owns the tank and you're putting them on automatic delivery because they have a monitor, they're going to be calling you for the gas, or we're going to be going out and filling the gas by default. So it's partially customer retention. Most of our tanks are owned by us anyhow. So as long as they have our tank, they're getting the gas from us. So it is a lease plan, and we have different payment plans. We have annual payment, we have a monthly payment if somebody so desires. But so we have a couple different structures for that.
Evan, do you mind grabbing that one too?
Yeah, so we package we call it a tank monitoring service, which encompasses not only just the device, but the whole process that we go about in regard to handling these types of accounts. We do bill these annually. We've not encountered an area where we need to break that down to a lower amount. We have, without specific numbers, our structure is based, we don't sell them directly to the customer. We own the monitors. But we've structured it, I believe the payoff in regard to the technology, the monitor itself, and the different fees associated, all that kind of stuff is paid off without any of your saving efficiencies calculated in by year 2. So, it's definitely a great money generator moving forward, not just from efficiency standpoint, but making revenue moving forward. But it is, it's a little bit slower payoff. You do have to wait a short period of time. Whereas if you were to sell the monitor directly to the customer, you'd see that cost paid for right away.
And now, Cory and Evan, I know one of the really interesting things is a few of the programs you have of kind of bringing the service to a customer. And so, Cory, I know you do some really interesting things around customers that have run out when you're doing the tank check. Can you go a little bit into that? I know it was pretty interesting use case of trying to get somebody to move from will call to kind of a monitored account.
Yeah. So on our will call customers, if it's a run out and it wasn't our fault, but if it was a run out just because they forgot to call in the order or what have you, but there's some significant fees involved in getting that delivery. We have to, if it's an after hours call or the pressure tests and all those different services that go into that. So one of the things that we've done is when the will call customer does call in and is all out, we will give them a pretty substantial credit toward those fees if they sign up for the monitor at that time. So we're converting somebody from will call to automatic, so it's forecastable and we can manage that account better. And then B, we're getting the revenue from the monitor moving forward, and C, keeping that customer happy moving forward, especially if they've had a history of running out in the past. Now we can keep them happy by keeping the propane in the tank. So we've had very good luck with that. And I would say, I don't have a percentage, but I would say a good chunk of our monitors that we have in the field were installed based off that pitch.
Yeah, I really like that because it takes kind of what is typically a very negative experience for your customer base, and kind of turns it around to really put Spicer as a real trusted partner when it comes to kind of heating their home. And so I really like that example. And Evan, I know one thing you've been kind of testing out too is how to test out kind of monitoring for new customers, especially to kind of get some early usage patterns to understand a little bit of what you need to do for new heat accounts, but also potentially as like a precursor to potentially selling that service to them.
Yeah, so we have a few different models. One, the first one you're indicating with heat accounts, what we are attempting to do, we don't have a great testing field to say, hey, this is a home run, this is what you have to do for sure. But we are deploying monitors on a lot of new heat accounts where we are telling them about the service, how much it costs, what the benefit is to them as the consumer, but then waiving that cost through a certain time period. So I think, right now we're using the end of our heating season, which is the end of June, where we're not going to charge them for it. And then when that time period concludes, it ends, they can make the choice to then buy into the service. If they choose not to as a company, we have to decide then, hey, can we predict this account well enough that we can take the monitor off and redeploy it, or is it worth it to keep it there? So that's a question that we're challenged on. Sometimes we keep it there anyway and still let them reap the benefit even though they haven't paid for that service, just as another tool that we're giving them as a customer. Another way that we're doing it, all of our new generators, all of our new pool heaters, they're all enrolling in the tank monitoring service as part of the program. This is this is how we do business, and that's had great success. People are sending us messages, hey, we love this. This is really good. And the part that goes with that we have to remember, and we've been pretty good about, but that they're watching it. I mean, they're letting us know, hey, my monitor that misses a reporting day for whatever reason, or we've logged in, we noticed this. What does this mean? So they are engaging with it as a tool, which is pretty cool to see. And then the third way that we're finding effective is we're passing along cost savings to our customers where we can. So one way that we're doing that is we're offering a more competitive price per gallon to people that are paying for this service because, hey, they're creating a lot of efficiency for us. And so, we're sharing some of those savings with them. Particularly, that's very, very good when you have a customer that's all over the place, but they've been your customer for 25 years and you've never let them run out. So it's hard to then say, hey, I want to put this tank monitor on this house and I want you to pay for it. That's a hard sell. But if you can look at the account and determine, we can give this person a price reduction if I can cut the deliveries in half. And they're going to benefit. They're paying an annual fee, so we know that monitor is covered, but they they're going to see the cost savings in fuel, and it's a lot more reliable of a delivery service for them, so they're getting more value from us. So those are really our three areas that we're spearheading for our expansion on monitors.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think one of the things that stands out, I think, in both your cases is you're finding ways to interact different types of customers in different ways and at meaningful moments with those customers, which I think is really, really cool and interesting. And so let's segue a little bit to a question we actually got, and I know something we were going to talk about anyway, but what is the sales pitch behind this? How do you actually message this to the customer? I know you've kind of mentioned some of the incentives that you do, but when you're talking to a customer, what is the thing that you're selling, and how do you message that to a customer? Cory, can you talk a little bit about kind of what is that? What are the values that you provide when you're offering kind of a tank monitoring service to those customers that just run out?
Yeah, I'd say the two big important factors that we bring up is it's a peace of mind for the customer. So whether it's a year-round home or a summer home only, and they're away, they have the peace of mind knowing that somebody is actually watching the tank, and it's not just a guess on a computer based on degree days, which they don't understand anyhow. But it's somebody's watching it. There's something there. So it's a real big peace of mind. And then it's also that security, especially with the generators and or elderly elderly folks that maybe have medical equipment or something like that, and they need that assurance that the propane is going to be there and somebody else is watching out for it if they can't get to the tank themselves. So there's that security feature as well that we really hit on, and it's certainly not a scare tactic. It's a partnership, that we're able to watch out for you, we're able to help you out with this service.
Gotcha. And Evan, I know you talk around some of the similar things, but is there anything else you do that really kind of makes it a big win for like your generator and pool heater customers?
Yeah, so when we're marketing tank monitors, we really want our customers to feel like they're valued and cared for. Because for us, monitors is kind of like a red carpet service. Hey, this is like one of the best things we have to offer to you to make sure that you're taken care of in your time of need. So, one of the words that goes along with that, similar to Cory with words that might ring with them is really it's a proactive response. That term has seemed to benefit well with our conversations with people. That we're not just reacting to a problem, but we're being proactive because we're a step ahead of the game, or a step ahead of degree days, whatever it may be. Specific tactics, how do you package it? Personal selling is the biggest, and I think later on we might get into like how our team works together to make this happen, and other contractors and things. But in the meantime, we really try and utilize everything. I mean, you email people, you're calling people, talking to them. Any opportunity to make the sale is where we're pitching it. One hasn't stood out more than others. We've sent out postcards, we've sent out emails. Those are great. They're especially when it's timely, when a storm's coming. But on the flip side, it's really good to have your tank monitor customers that are saying, hey, called Jaysan because when the storm was here and all the trees were down and nobody else could get anywhere to do anything, they were here delivering propane. So, and they knew that my tank was low before I even called. So it's one of those things where, for us, even just word of mouth has been incredible because people are seeing that value and seeing how we handle them and then telling everybody else. So trying to capture that is difficult in marketing materials. I've used my kids as models for some of our marketing materials, checking their monitor on their phone, in the pool, wherever, this winter we may put together something out in the snow. But it's a matter of, just trying to really connect with people and say, hey, this is great. And any medium you can use to get that message to them is great.
That's great.
Just to add to that a little bit on how we reach our customers too. I mean, one of the things that we do is we put it just a simple checkbox right on the supply contract. So when they sign up for propane, we talk about it over the phone. Our service technicians are very well aware of it and can talk to the consumer about it. But we also just put it right on the supply agreement, so all they have to do is check a box and sign up for that option. So we make it very seamless, and probably a hefty percentage of the monitors that we put out are right off the supply contract. They send it back with it checked, signed, and off it goes.
That's great that you included right directly in that sales process. Now, one thing I know both of you do is, and Evan was kind of alluding to it a little bit, but is really kind of equipping your team and your partners to help you also sell tank monitoring. And I think that's really important is that, all those physical touch points. I mean, this is a relationship business, and, how do we actually equip, our drivers and the electricians we partner with to ultimately help us also sell kind of these services as well as our gas services to customers. So Cory, can you go a little bit into kind of, some of the things you might be doing to, make sure that your partners and your team are aligned with what you're offering here?
Yeah. So as far as our team goes, like I mentioned before, our service technicians are well aware of it. They've installed them for us if they're down that way, what have you. And our drivers know about it. So drivers don't always have contact with the customer because they're often there when the customer's not home. But service technicians, since they typically have to get into the house, they're usually face to face with the customer. So they've been a good advocate for getting monitors out there if they see a problem or a potential opportunity to get one out. As far as partners that we work with a number of generator installers, and they're aware of that service. I don't know if we're their only propane company referral, but we definitely make it known that we can offer this to their customers as a sales pitch for our services. So that's definitely helps. And then contractors, one thing that we do with the builders is for their winter temporary heat when they're framing a house or what have you, they blow through gas because the house may be completely wide open. They're very unpredictable. They tend not to check the tank until they don't have any heat coming out of their heater. So we've gotten into the habit of just putting a monitor on the temporary tanks, regardless, at no charge, just as a service to our contractors. So we'll put a monitor out there that takes a lot of pressure off our dispatcher, off the drivers. We know if they're going to make it through the weekend, if we need to get out there before the weekend. And then oftentimes, they tell the buyer of the home, if it's a contract home, they'll tell them about our services, and oftentimes that monitor just stays there when we do the permanent tank set. So that's been a good segue into a permanent customer as well.
That's great. And Evan, I know you
keeps the contractors very happy, when they don't have to run out of gas.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, no, that's it. And you probably want them coming back again and again as they're building.
Absolutely.
Evan, I know you have some similar things, but you also do a lot in terms of making sure that the team is understanding kind of why you're doing monitoring and kind of being able to message to people there. And I know you have some pretty good stories about how that network effect of that training that you do with your team kind of impacts selling monitoring.
Yeah. So with us, going back to that very beginning, we talked about journey. If I was listening to this webinar, this is the one thing that I wish that I would have taken away sooner. But what we discovered through this journey is, at the beginning, I was personally the one that was spearheading monitors with just, me and some select people on our team. And, what we found is it was tough to keep up. So because we're all wearing too many hats. So we started to really share with our installers, with our technicians, with our drivers, with our office staff, everybody, from the owner to the part-time worker. Hey, this is the technology. This is how it works. Here's a login to the portal. Let's check it out, work through it. This is when the customer calls and asks you, hey, I don't have the app on my phone, but what is the percentage of my tank? You can give them an immediate answer. And we just tried to really sit down people, shared with them how it all works so that they could feel invested in it and feel like they were part of it, instead of this exclusive, hey, this option's out there, but you have to talk to this one person to get there. And then we also, with our team, not only showing them that and engaging them with that, we shared with them the metrics and the savings. And our drivers love it because they're not pulling the hose to deliver small amounts of gallons. And with our drivers, you have some drivers that don't talk to anybody, and you've got some drivers that talk to everybody. But we're finding, a lot of times there will be people that greet them at their houses. Hey, they want to talk. They're home. They're retired. They're whatever. And our drivers are the perfect ones to sell things to them, we find. So, we've found some success with them generating some calls. Hey, what's this tank monitoring service that your driver was telling me about? Now, to the contractor, the partner kind of perspective, we've really communicated very well, especially to our generator installers. This is how we do things. There's a whole number of them out there. They all talk to their customers a different way. But as they've understood the technology, they have them installed at their personal homes for their equipment in a lot of the cases. For us, we put them there. But they're selling the tank monitoring service before we ever meet the customer for the first time. And the great example, actually, this weekend, Labor Day weekend, took a long weekend. And I got a text from one of our installers, and he says, hey, here's 2 more addresses. Please call them when you get back. If you guys could set something up to check out propane, new service, just so this is, these are all the specs of the job, and I've already sold them on tank monitoring. So, it's pretty cool that they're taking the lead. They're selling it. They're telling people they know our price because we're charging them. So they're telling customers, hey, this is part of it. And it really becomes, kind of a culture of tank monitoring, so to speak, when it comes to new customers, that this is the way to go. And call Jaysan because they're going to be there for you and take care of it. So those are our big successes, I think. There's other ways, but the team's training and investment in it is huge, because you'll find ways that people are selling them that you never could have thought of.
No, that's great. And I mean, I think one of the things that I think we need to do better, I know with our customers, is just how do we evangelize tank monitoring and the value of it across the organization, and look at as you say, like the worst thing that you can do is send a driver to fill the last 10% that needs to be filled. That's a wasted opportunity there. So that's awesome that you're seeing the value of your drivers having those conversations with customers. One question we got from the audience was, how do you handle the dispatching? So, you've sold these monitors to accounts and set them up for these accounts, but are you using two different systems, or do you integrate tank utility with your existing dispatch software? Now, I think in your cases, and you guys can take it from here, but can you tell us a little bit about how you're using that data to deliver a little bit more efficiently? And so, Evan, you want to start?
Yeah, so we do not currently integrate with our back office software. We thought at the beginning, hey, the cost, we really want to feel this out. And then we really like Tank Utility's portal. Everything has worked pretty well. We're able to see a lot of the information. So we have not made that integration. Will we eventually? Probably. I think it would be valuable as we continue to grow, double and triple, hopefully, our monitor sales that are out there. So that will be a huge advantage. We are kind of old school when it comes to delivery in some ways. We still have kind of a scheduling route card based system that really works off many different things. So it's really been reduced down to a much more efficient system now than it was 5-6 years ago. So what we do is when we have tank monitors, we're watching them, we're paying attention to trends over time, and we are taking them and putting them into normal scheduled routes as much as possible, so that we can deliver when we're delivering to their neighbors still, find those cost savings because we're already in the neighborhood. On the flip side, we have had many opportunities which have been really, really neat, especially this last winter when you didn't have enough gas and you had too much gas, and you had all these different opportunities throughout the winter where we could put together routes and say, hey, you've got 3 hours, these monitors need to be topped off, go. And you're able to put together an efficient and dump a truck in that period of time. So there's a number of ways. It's not just like an easy, integrate, put them, only deliver when they're down to 20%. You really have to phase it in and decide where are you finding your savings. For us, it's about, being in that area and delivering to other places as much as possible. We also do have service trucks. All our service trucks are equipped to deliver propane. So we can install tanks, deliver propane, service equipment, all in one truck. So, for us, we see a lot of efficiency through that as well.
Great. And Cory, can you tell us a little bit about kind of how you're using the data at Spicer?
Yeah, so we do have it set up so it is integrated in our back office software, which does make it very easy and seamless. So our dispatcher, when he runs a route and forecasts out, they just automatically get populated into the route for us. So that's really nice. However, one of the real benefits of the portal is we actually have a couple oil customers on the system as well that we install oil monitors on, and the oil software that we have does not integrate with the monitors. So nice thing about the tank utility though is that you get the email warnings. So you don't miss anything. And we've gotten into the habit, we've trained 3 or 4 people in the office that it's just habit. First thing in the morning, they check, and you don't have to scroll through the whole list. You just look at who's below 30% or who's below 20% that we really need to add to the list in the next couple days. And then they can manually add those as well. So the reporting on the portal does make it very easy, especially for those oil customers that don't show up automatically. And then to what Evan was just saying too, is that if we have a truck who's further out and finished his route and still has propane left on the truck, it's very easy to see what maybe larger bulk accounts are low, that he could dump the truck and make sure he's coming back empty rather than coming back with 20-30% on the truck. So that helps us out in that regard as well. You don't have to send him to a shopping plaza and hope that it's empty, or hope that the tank's low enough to take the remaining gas. You can give him a definitive answer. I need you to go here and dump the truck. So that helps as well.
Fantastic. Yeah. And what I can say is that, I know our software at Tank Utility, we can integrate with any back office. So many of our customers do have that integration. There are fees with certain back offices. I know we don't charge a fee, but depending on kind of, what you're looking for, I'd also ask that question of your back office and tank monitoring providers as you're kind of going through that process. All right, we have a number of questions that just came in, so I'll ask you guys here. One is when you offer to clients who opt into tank monitoring programs, what happens if they do experience a run out? Do you guys include kind of a run out guarantee, or how do you handle that?
Well, yes. I mean, I'm not going to say we're perfect and we haven't run anybody out. So it's certainly happened, and they've been on monitors. And it depends on the customer. We don't have a formal policy. They are treated as an automatic customer. So regardless of the time of day, we're going to get a truck out to you right away, no charge, no fees, and we're going to get that taken care of. And if they're paying for the monitor service, it doesn't matter if it's a fireplace or a pool heater or something that's not considered a priority or a necessity. You're paying for that service. You're on automatic delivery. We drop the ball, so we're going to get the truck out to you at midnight if that's what it is. And then, like I was saying, we don't have a formal policy, but if there's pushback from the customer, we'll certainly refund the annual rent or something like that, make amends that way.
Yeah, we're on a similar basis. We kicked around that idea early on. Do we need to have a guarantee for our customers? And we decided just not to communicate about it because in our head, how can we let somebody run out on a tank monitor if everything's working properly? How would that happen? So we decided not to put out a guarantee. Didn't feel like it was necessary, and you don't want to commit to something that leaves yourself in a position where it's hard to figure things out later. So for us, it would be case by case. I don't think that we've had anybody run out that's been on a tank monitor. The only exception might be is if somebody called and said hold delivery for whatever reason and wouldn't let us deliver. That would be the only cause as to why, in our case, that we would lead into a run out. I would suppose. So we really haven't encountered it, but we also haven't really felt the need because the technology is good enough that it's telling you every day where they stand and multiple times a day if you need it to. So.
This is Aaron from Tank Utility. That's a good question from Derek. I think maybe even underlying that question is, why would somebody buy a tank monitor if you're not offering something for this service? If you're already keeping them full and they're an automatic customer, wouldn't you have to offer a no run out guarantee in order for them to purchase this service? And I mean, from your experience, you guys are saying, no, actually you don't really need to offer it. And in our experience, it sounds like people are really opting into this service because they like the extra peace of mind and the access to the data and the feeling like they're getting a little red carpet service, to steal your words, Evan. So it sounds like not needed to to offer them some sort of run out guarantee, if you will. So that's just reading between the lines a little bit on that one. But good answer.
I think you're 100% right on that. We found that with our customers who have the monitors, a vast majority of those customers are people that we would have required to be on will call if they didn't have the monitor. So by signing up for the monitor program, they're getting automatic delivery. And if there is a run out, if they do run out, they are getting that automatic delivery treatment for something that they would have otherwise had to watch the monitor themselves and pay fees for the after hours delivery and the pressure test and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's not good to run a customer out if they're on the monitor, but it has happened, and they are getting a significantly better service than they would have gotten otherwise.
Yeah, you're allowed to open them up to this new service that has never been possible before. One more question here. Actually, more questions. Michelle asks here, is the same monitor for oil and propane? And I'll just quickly breeze through this one. It's very similar monitor for oil and propane. It's a cellular based 4G LTE. The only difference is that on the oil side, we have a swing arm float that you would install into the bung of that oil tank. And then we would clip into the Rochester dial on that float, essentially mimicking what you would do in a propane tank. There's a float in a propane tank, and we create the float system on the oil tank and then use the same monitor to clip into the top of that. Can definitely answer more of those questions, but we've got 275, 330 kind of off-the-shelf float gauges from Rochester in-house, and then we can customize a float to pretty much any size if you give us some specs. I see one more from Charlie. How do you, this is a great question from Charlie, talking about customer access to the information. I don't want to steal anybody's thunder. If there you go, Chris has it up on the next slide. How do you promote how do you give that white glove service to the customer and the app?
Well, I think this is where, in all honesty, I feel like we've missed an opportunity here that we're trying to get better at in integrating the customers and pushing the customers to download the app. It makes it more of a relationship, I think. This is what I'm thinking because like I said, we failed in this department. I know Evan from our conversation the other day has done very well with this, so he could probably talk better about that. But that's speaking from mistakes, and what I've learned is that we need to get to our customers who have this and get more of them to download the app, to have that interaction.
Yeah. Okay. So not as many down. Evan, take it away. What's your experience?
Yeah. So what we found is, by going back to the lease versus sell the monitor question, when we're leasing or selling a service to somebody with a recurring charge, the key that we are finding is that we need to make sure that they have that perceived value at the beginning when you make the sale, but that it's a continuing value. So for a generator, if there's no storm that year and we didn't need to go out there and top off their tank in a time of need, and they get the bill a year later, it's going to be, the questions that they may have is like, do I really need this? Do I need to pay for this? And that's a question that we've faced a little bit and that we've worked on. So one of the advantages or things to combat that is to make sure that they have the app, make sure that they download it. We take it a step further. I wish that we didn't have to do this, but this is what we do. We create the account for the customer. We send them all the login information, make it real simple for them to download, log in on their phone. Couple instances, we've had people, they've come into the office, or we've encouraged them to stop by if they're local in the area. Hey, stop by, we'll do it for you. Take their phone, help them figure it out, do whatever it can to get it really seamless and simple for them, because once they download that app, that's one more tool that you have to show that value you're giving them. We do have some customers that really appreciate the ability to see their usage over time, which is key, especially when, all of us have faced the customers that even though it was sub-0 degree weather, there's no way that they possibly could have used all that propane for heat, and how do you face that question? So, we've used tank monitors, even sold tank monitors to some people to combat that question. Well, fine, if you don't trust that, the tank is is using that amount of gas in a period of time. Let's put a monitor on here so you could see it. And that visualization of everything has showed them, this is the temperature during that time. This is your usage. It went up. Similar to smart thermostats that are everywhere. It does a similar type thing. And, we're finding that people are seeing more value in that, and it solves a lot of problems. So that's how we're getting the app out there. We physically email, when we deploy a monitor, we email the information to the customer. Hey, here's this new technology. I don't know what we're going to call it when it's no longer really new technology. We're kind of getting up on that point, but here's this new technology. Check it out. We really think it's going to add value, and communicate that with them, and encourage them to call us and let us know if they were successful. And then in some cases, you might follow up with a customer that you really want to connect with to make sure that they could figure it out, and go from there.
No, that's great. And I know here at Tank Utility, we're continuously thinking of easier ways to get kind of customers on the app and being able to share that information and share the device information. And so that's really interesting. One other thing I know we see, because we also sell directly to homeowners Wi-Fi devices, is that we see across the kind of customer base there that during the winter, 70% of homeowners will actually check the app once a week. And so if you have your brand in the top left corner of this app, you're having them check and see that your kind of brand and your likeness once a week during the winter. So, which I think is really important. And we've also heard, a number of stories around fuel suppliers that actually have it's reduced the customer service burden a little bit for them, because they have people calling all the time early on when they have the app, but then they go, no, we're looking at the same data. If you see this below 20%, you should give us a call, but we know what's happening, right? We're not going to let you run out. And we're going to make sure that you stay warm during this winter. So it's actually kind of reduced some of the problem customers that they had in some cases. Great. And so we have one more question here. It's one question on pricing. We won't talk about pricing, but we can follow up a little bit later on some generalities that I know we know from different customers. So we'll tackle that a little bit later. But with the last 2 minutes, one thing I'd like to ask is, Cory and Evan, if you have kind of one last takeaway that the attendees can take on your kind of journey and what's important when thinking about kind of actually selling this service to customers, what would it be? Any final advice? And we'll start with you, Cory.
Yeah, I think one of the hesitations that we had going into it was the maintenance and the cost of the monitors up front. But it really pays for itself tenfold with the relationship building, with the efficiency improvements of deliveries, and for our situation, changing will call customers that are completely unpredictable to an automatic forecastable account. So the and that's not even thinking about a potential revenue source. That's just savings right there. So it's been a great tool for us, and we continue to expand and push it. And yeah, I would definitely encourage anybody to get into it and get them out there. And you just have to be creative with your marketing. We do bill stuffers, we do newsletters, we include them in on the tickets when they get to when the drivers drop them off at customers' houses. So the more you can get out there, the more efficient your whole system's going to run. And it really is. We've enjoyed working with them.
Great. And Evan, what's your final advice kind of for anybody listening today?
Yeah, so I would just, look to remind everybody that tank monitoring is a tool. It's going to save, your company. It saved our company time, money, and most importantly, stress. So, some of the implications of that is to remember, while we're talking about selling monitors, you don't have to start there. It really is that journey where you've got to get into them, understand how they work. For us, deploying monitor was a challenge at the beginning, because how do you get a box of 25 and get them out the door as fast as possible? For us, we have a shoe organizer hanging on the wall filled with monitors with customers' addresses ready to go. So, there are all different things you need to phase out as you're going along that journey before you sell them. But when you do get to that point, don't be afraid to ask. Let people say no. In a lot of cases, you're going to find they say yes, and you have no idea why. They just said yes because it hit home with them. Pricing wise, don't overprice it, but don't try and feel it out. Try it out. Do a couple test runs. See what the right price is for you and your company. What kind of value you are adding. With that, just keep in mind that it's for us. I look at it as like a red carpet service or white glove service, whatever you want to look at. It's something that's adding value. So. Keep that in mind. It's not just a piece of equipment, but it's really something that you have to pay attention to. Don't put it out there and forget about it. It's something that you really got to own to continue the sale and keep it going. And I think that's it. I guess just from our experience, one of the things, we've gone to some of the trade shows, Atlanta, up here in Worcester. Some of the things we heard from other suppliers was, how did you make it through those March storms? What wasn't it a stressful thing? And for us, we're like, we kind of had fun in a way. We were a propane company that didn't let anybody run out, that filled everybody up, that, we could see in a lot of cases where these people stand on monitors. And even if the people didn't have monitors, but their neighbor did, we could deliver to them as well with the same technology. So, there's nothing better than showing up after a storm before somebody even gets a chance to check their tank. And then finding that they really needed the fuel. So, I encourage you to jump in, dive in with those things, and, don't be afraid to ask people and let them do the rest.
Well, this is fantastic. And I know I learned a lot from both of you today and through our conversations. And I just really appreciate you taking the time to join us today and just, share a little bit about how your companies are using tank monitoring and really, adding additional revenue with, selling the services to your customers. So thank you so much, Cory. Thanks so much, Evan, for sharing your thoughts today.
Pleasure.
No problem.
Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. So I will make sure that we send a follow-up with the recording of this device, as well as the slides, as well as the recordings for the previous webinars. So make sure to look for that in your email inbox, and we appreciate you taking the time today. All the best.